Now I know I'm late on this review, especially when considering that I did go see Detective Pikachu on opening day, but I have some gripes about the movie that I haven't seen anyone else really talk about yet, so I wanted to put my thoughts out there, especially since I had quite enough time to really think about this stuff. Now, Detective Pikachu, the movie itself, despite obviously being part of an internationally strong and recognizable IP, is actually based on the standalone Detective Pikachu game for the Nintendo 3DS. And the movie follows the game's story rather closely at the beginning before taking artistic liberties later on and doing things a little differently. But for the most part, the story sees Justice Smith star as Tim Goodman, who's in search of his missing father that he believes is still alive. Joining him is a mysterious Pikachu that only he can understand, whom Ryan Reynolds provides the voice for. The entire movie attempts to recreate the feeling and atmosphere of your typical run-of-the-mill detective film noir, but obviously with Pokémon. The idea is simple, the two main characters go searching for clues, and even get into some interrogating too, which is a far cry from your traditional Pokémon trainer adventure, which this movie is anything but. You don't see any gym battles, training Pokémon, and only once do you see a Pokémon getting caught and a Pokémon battle taking place. Although even those I'd say are semi-complete. But that's the thing about Detective Pikachu. It makes it very obvious from the get-go that it isn't the type of Pokémon movie you think it would be. And for what it is and aims to be, I thought it was alright. Not a masterpiece by any means, but not bad either. Objectively, I'd say it was an average movie, especially if you're not a Pokémon fan. Myself, I grew up a Pokémon and still like it to this day, so it was enjoyable for me and it had some fun scenes here and there. But at the same time, it dragged in big chunks of the movie. The real problem with it is the human characters in it are fairly bland and boring, like their acting is passable at best. The story itself isn't any better and the main villain isn't all that bright and their endgame goal is nonsensical. Also, it doesn't help that the plot runs far too quickly, as there's rarely any moment to breathe and it feels the director was rushing through a lot of the scenes at times. Another thing is that despite it supposedly being a detective movie, you hardly ever really see Goodman and Pikachu do some real detective work. Pretty much everything gets handed to them on a silver platter, so that already takes away any excitement the movie had going for itself as a so-called detective flick. The most work they do to get a lead is the interrogation scene of the Mr. Mime that we see in the trailer. And that scene is one of the best parts in the entire movie. I didn't think that would be the case, but it is. Now, what does Detective Pikachu actually get right? Well, not much, other than of course the real-life depictions of the Pokémon, which is only the real saving grace here. All the Pokémon look fantastic and you really just watch the movie for them, especially looking forward to what new Pokémon will be showing up in each new scene. But then it gets to a part where they stop showing new Pokémon and you only keep seeing the same ones over and over again. And that right there really ruined it for me. I mean, it got to a point where I just asked myself, how many people in the city have a Charmander, Trico, Sneasel, and Loudred? And I mentioned those because for the majority of the movie, you keep seeing these four Pokémon keep repeated over and over again. Especially in one of the end scenes where they didn't even try to keep it diverse and you literally had like 6 or 7 Sneasels all in one shot. What's worse is that they had so much other Pokémon that they barely used in the movie and could have easily put them in this scene instead. But no, it seemed that being lazy and copying and pasting Sneasels was just a better decision in their minds. But I get it, creating photorealistic Pokémon isn't cheap and this movie had a limited budget and it shows. The annoying and blatant overuse of certain Pokémon, and the movie only taking place in 3 locations, which is Rhyme City, the rural area outside the city, and the laboratory, which is also set outside the city. Honestly, this movie kind of kept giving me Dragon Ball Evolution vibes at times, mostly because that movie was also really limited in its budget and an anime adaptation. And while I tried so much to lie to myself and pretend that I liked Evolution when it came out, I know I couldn't do the same for this. However, with that said, the unique Pokémon that we do get to see are awesome and keep you interested. Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu also really saves the movie. While not everything he said was laugh out loud funny, his performance was still fairly enjoyable and the only reason that keeps you still invested in the movie after you've seen all the cool Pokémon the movie has to offer. Oh, and I really love Psyduck, probably my favorite character in the movie. I was never really a big Psyduck fan to begin with, but he really surprised me in this one, he was awesome. So, is Detective Pikachu awful? Nah, no it isn't. If anything, I was probably too hard on it. And that's probably because the movie wasn't made for me, but aimed for kids. and the majority of the things that I had issues with aren't things that kids will even think twice about. Now, if Detective Pikachu had more Pokemon to use, or at least diversified what little they did have better, and had more actual detective work in the movie, a better plot, and made the movie longer or just not feel as rushed, then I think it would have made one really good movie. But for what it was simply okay in my book. Starts out strong with all the Pokemon eye candy and mystery, but it all starts going downhill pretty fast from there. But that was my take on Detective Pikachu. Hopefully you found it enjoyable and informative. And if you saw the movie, do let me know in the comments down below if you liked it, hated it, or were somewhere in between, as I'm always interested to hear what you all have to say. As always, I'll see you guys on the next one.